Hi there, Eric Bakker, the naturopath from New Zealand. Thanks for coming back. We can talk about Fodmaps, limitations, expectations, results. I've looked at all kinds of diets over the years. You can imagine all the years I've worked with, I've looked at the GAPS diet, the Fodmap diet, the Body Ecology diet, the jelly bean diet, the Paleo diet, the vegan diet, the diet, every kind of diet, I'm no fan of diets. I'm not even a fan of the diet that I recommend to people. It's a difficult situation to navigate what you should be eating and what you shouldn't be eating. And it's very, very individual. That's the problem. One issue I have, for example, with Fodmaps is, what about if the person has got seriously leaky gut and a massive allergy towards one or two types of key foods, but not for other foods, and that's been unexplored? What about if the person's got glaucocystis, hominis, or dientamoeba fragilis parasite, and that was not picked up? What about if the person's got IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, which I know in my own mind is 50% stress, and that person's in an abusive relationship, yet they're trying to get their gut right with Fodmaps? What about if the person's got inflammatory bowel disease or was undiagnosed because they were taking acne treatment that wrecked their gut? What about if the person was antibiotics for 6 months, it screwed up their gut, and they're trying to remedy with Fodmaps? What if? You get my point? I could give you another 1,000 what ifs. Diets don't cure people. They don't fix people up. They temporarily remediate, temporarily. There are a lot more factors that account for dysfunction than just what you eat. A lot more factors. And that's the concern I have with many people, like dietitians, because everything's food focused, I found this on the internet, for example, I might just black out some stuff here, but like, high Fodmap diet checklist, foods to avoid. There's a billion of these online, So when you go to Google, you print these off and you hang them on your refrigerator and you start following these kind of plans, Don't have these foods, excess fructose. Don't have the high fructans foods. Avoid the high poly foods. Avoid the high lactose foods. Well, what the hell do you eat? You're taking everything out of your diet. You're left with ice cubes, all right? If I look at this is basically nearly all fruits and vegetables here. So much stuff. Here, for example, high lactose, goat's milk, which I found perfectly fine in nearly every case. I rarely find people having a goat milk problem. This person's even saying that apples, because of the fructose content, are no good. Now, every apple on a tree will have a different fructose content depending on where on the tree it is. I've got a friend who's an apple grower professional. He's telling me that the moisture content, the fiber content, the sugar content, it can vary from tree to tree, from apple to apple, from type to type. Green apples are better, Especially the tart apples don't usually have a problem. And of course, it'll be portion size. Get an apple, cut a small piece off it, and then chew that away from food. It may be perfectly fine, all right? Just because a piece of paper tells you to avoid all these foods, do you avoid all those foods? I don't think so. I think you need to avoid what aggravates you at the time. And it's a very fluid, dynamic thing. What upsets your gut today may be perfectly fine in 3 weeks from now. So if you're going to avoid a whole list of foods like this for 6 months or whenever it is, and I think with Fodmaps, usually they recommend an induction, to be careful with these foods for like a month and then slowly incorporate them. Many people don't follow that advice. I had a patient from Sydney, Australia, who was on Fodmaps for 3 years solid, every day on Fodmaps, like taking everything out. It was driving his wife crazy. If you've got Asperger's syndrome and you follow this, you're going to be anal as hell. You're going to be excluding every single one of these foods. So if you go to a party or you go to a wedding or wherever you go, oh no, I can't eat that. I can't eat that food. No, it's not really on my list. So you can actually become quite a pain in the butt. So people are going to try and think, oh, we're not going to invite this guy anymore. He's no fun, is he? So you can also really alienate yourself from people and in relationships with friends and family by following these kind of approaches. Am I a fan of Fodmaps? Well, I'm a fan of people avoiding foods that aggravate them, I'm not going to put a name on anything. I'm not going to say follow the GAPS diet. I'm not going to say follow the Candida crusher diet. I'm not going to say follow the Paleo diet. You need to follow the Mr. Put in your name, or Mrs. Put in your name. That's the diet you need to follow. And you can definitely work that out by incorporating most natural healthy foods into your diet and then working out what aggravates your gut. Be careful with these kind of diet approaches too, because many of them limit fiber in your diet, so you can't poop properly. They slow the gut down, all right? Many don't talk about the lifestyle that goes with the diet, about taking more time out, about saying no to people, about looking at the psychosocial and emotional effects of the brain and the gut. No one talks about that. They don't talk about relaxing more, walking more, okay, talking with your partner more, being kind to people more. No one talks about that. It's all about food. It's all about sugars in foods and stuff like that. So I hope this is a bit of a wake-up call for people out there who follow these kind of approaches and get limited results from that approach. Or they surf from one diet to another diet, okay? They're like navigating waves. They ride this wave, the wave comes to a standstill, and they jump on another wave, all right? Some of my clients have followed literally 15 or 20 diets, and they're in worse shape than when they started. It's not all about what you eat, okay? It's about how you live and incorporate the foods into how you live. Thanks for tuning in.